So we are here because the Buddha visited this place, this planet, and that teaching, that lifetime of the actual lifetime was a teaching. It wasn't just from the moment, people talk about the first teaching, the Four Noble Truths, etc. But actually, right from the very beginning, before even the entering into the Queen's body, there was a plan to teach Dharma here in the previous heaven where the Buddha came from. So the amazing thing about the Buddha's life, obviously, the Buddha is we call a Buddha. When you say the word Buddha, it means fully enlightened, and there are many stages from where we are at the moment to get to full Buddhahood, and those stages, those manifestations of those stages as a being is known as a bodhisattva. And the bodhisattvas in English, obviously you would think of them as a sort of saint, what we would call a saint. And there are various levels, 10 levels of those saints, and those levels represent subtle perfections of wisdom. So Buddhist practice, which is one of the three aspects of Buddha's teaching. Buddha's teaching had three aspects, which is a Buddhist religion, Buddhist philosophy, and Buddhist science. And Buddhist religion that the Buddha taught is only for the Buddhists, the ones who are trying to attain enlightenment, and therefore Buddhist religion practice and the teachings of the Buddhist religion practices are only for those who have taken initiations and vows. And that is a wonderful thing to commit your life to. But for this talk tonight, it's Buddhist philosophy. And Buddhist philosophy is similar in principle to the Buddhist religious practices, because it has the same intention, and the intention of Buddhist philosophy is to deplete suffering. And it's a very profound subject, because the suffering that beings go through is profound, and therefore the remedy is profound. And first of all, the first thing that the Buddha recommends, the fully enlightened Buddha recommends for all beings, is to investigate and to examine life, examine what life is, examine what happens, examine others, examine oneself, think about what birth is, what one's own birth was. Study the appearances, study the evidence that is surrounding one in life. And it sounds obvious, but virtually no one does it, because life is so busy and we are distracted by survival, and we become obsessed with our own living and our own life, and one thing and another, and before you know it, life is gone. And we've never stopped and had a look, and we've never examined, as the Buddha said, we've never really checked what it is. And so if you are fortunate enough to have the good conditions to sit down at home as much as possible and cogitate the situation of all beings, oneself and others, everything, animals, and of course study the Dharma. The Dharma is without the Dharma, it would be very difficult to sit down and make hugely progressive inroads into the meaning of life and reality, birth and life and death, etc. you could make a certain amount of progress, as many worldly philosophers, etc., have done throughout history. But with the aid of the fully enlightened Buddha's teachings, the actual Dharma, it's quite easy. It's quite simple, really, because everything is there. It answers all the questions that one might have. It explains all the phenomena. It explains all the elements, all nature, internal workings, external workings. Everything is there. What Buddha said was, though, don't just read it and accept it as verbatim. You read it and then you check. That is the very important thing. You read it and then you compare it and then have the realization. If you check and you find that it's true, that's the moment. That is the moment that changes the mind. So this is a wonderful thing. This Dharma, the Dharma is the Buddha's teaching, and to be in a world with it where it's available, and be able to study it and then go out and check it to make sure that what you've read it makes sense. That is the cause of the real realization, the wonderful thing about life. Of course, as a Buddhist, I would say it's the most important thing in life. But it depends. There's all different sorts of religions with all sorts of teachings. And anything that can be gleaned from these wisdom teachings of any religion that make a positive impact, that deplete suffering, that increase the betterment and the happiness and the peace of the world, that is an extremely significant, wonderful, important thing. And there are too many people not taking advantage of the religious teachings, and there are too many negative beings, not all visible ones, who are trying their hardest to give religion a bad name. And yet, the meaning of religion is happiness and peace equally for all beings. There is no other type of religion. And so the best way for happiness and peace for all beings in this world and all worlds is spiritual progress and studying the spiritual texts. Now, what is meant by studying the spiritual texts? Spiritual texts are explanations of the truth. That truth in the spiritual teachings opposes our normal worldly view. Our normal worldly view is erroneous, is false, flawed, because it is based, you will, again, as Buddha said, you check, you investigate, but you will see that the majority, if not all, of sentient beings, humans, animals, and all the other beings, their view is based on personal existence, their own personal existence, separate from everyone else, separate from all the other beings. And each being is under this delusion. Each being has an idea of their own existence. And that idea of your own existence is absolutely wrong, absolutely erroneous. That is the main teaching of the Buddha. And that's very difficult to accept because it's where the mind, we say our mind, but actually is the mind, is so deeply conditioned by self-preservation, survival, fight and fly, etc., etc. And so there are many, what I mean by etc., is there are so many aspects of selfishness that riddle the mind in all directions, and we have to gradually, throughout our life, use this window of opportunity to dispel them, to remove them. And so what we'll end up with, as soon as possible, what we end up with is a completely purified mind with no more selfish delusion. That is the point of all spiritual practices, all religions. And if there is anyone saying that with their religion you don't need to do that, then it's not a religion. The only meaning of religion is to purify the mind of the causes of suffering. And that's a very important point. And anyone who is causing suffering or harming others in the name of religion is lying. It's nothing to do with religion, because religion is only for peace and happiness. So that's the first thing, very important. And then the second thing is how to alleviate the mind, release the mind from the causes of suffering that we have at the moment. And what are they? So the causes of suffering are known as the 5 kleshas. The 5 kleshas are, kleshas means afflictions or defilements or obscurations or veils. And they are like different colour cloths laid over a light, obscuring, stopping that natural pure ground light coming through. Every single being in its centre has what we call the Buddha nature, or the clear light, or the ground luminosity, or the basic fundamental true nature of mind, which is absolutely pure, has no characteristics, is completely featureless, and yet it is it's the omniscient, all-pervasive fabric of all reality. It's indestructible, everlasting, as I say, unchangeable, indestructible. Anyway, this is called the best way to describe it is the Buddha nature, because it is the nature of the Buddha, and it's a very profound and very subtle, wonderful, beautiful thing that every being can rely on. But instead of relying on that, what we rely on is a falsely manufactured consciousness, which is founded upon the idea of a separate personal existence, which is absolutely not true at all, completely erroneous. And from this basic, fundamental ignorance, the reason it's called ignorance is because we are ignorant of the fact that everything is based on one single clear light. We are ignorant of the fact that all beings are equally in their core the Buddha nature. If once you realize that everyone in essence is absolutely pure, absolutely perfect, and what causes the different characteristics and the different appearances of beings is just a varying different aspects of delusion. And once that's all removed, all beings are the same. All beings are the Buddha. All beings are absolutely perfect, omniscient, full compassion, full wisdom, absolutely lovely. It's only the selfishness, the idea of the self, which ruins us, which causes us to enact the 5 kleshas. Well, I say 5. There's 4 kleshas, and then the 5th one is the ignorance. So for the moment, we're going to put the ignorance aside, and we're going to concentrate on the main 4, which grow from the 5th one. The 5th one is ignorance. So the first one is desire. And the reason the first one of the 5 kleshas is desire is because it is so powerful and so strong. And it's so powerful and so strong that this entire realm where we are at the moment, from the lowest of the lower realms up to roughly halfway into the long life God realms, which is that's a huge expanse of various beings, that whole plethora of consciousness levels is known as the desire realm, because that delusion of desire is so strong. And desire doesn't just mean lust or sensual pleasure. Desire also covers attachment. And that attachment that all beings have also has many aspects. You know, we're attached to many things on many levels. We can be attached to things that are physical things that we've actually got in our life at the moment. We can be attached to memories. We can even be attached to ideas of things that are going to be happening in the future, or we think will happen in the future. Attachment is a very strange, all-pervasive delusion. And getting rid of it is a wonderful thing, a wonderful way to spend one's life. Removing, depleting, eliminating all attachment so that the mind is free, it means the end of desire. And I believe, as you know, if you by watching the news, reading the paper, desire, if you start contemplating and checking and examining desire in this world, you will see how much suffering it causes, all the abuse. I don't need to go into the depraved details of what's in the news constantly, based on the delusion of desire. But let me just tell you 100%, if you free your mind from desire, you have immediately cut your suffering in half. 50% of your suffering, 50% of suffering is completely gone immediately. So desire is the most terrible thing. But of course, many people, if you ask the man on the street about desire, he will start talking to you about reproduction. How will humanity survive if it wasn't for desire, etc. This sort of logic. So if you're interested in that argument and you want to investigate that and debate, then you start with what is known as the Agana Sutra. The Agana Sutra is a sutra which translates into the knowledge of beginnings, and the knowledge of beginnings was taught by Buddha, and it basically logically, using logical reasoning, just by reading it, logical reasoning will show to your mind empirically that desire was at one time there was no such thing as desire. There were beings that were free from desire, and desire developed and became stronger and more coarse and caused more and more problems, and desire then increased even more because of the problems, and it cultivated and generated into what we have today. And so therefore, through logical reasoning, you can understand that desire is an erroneous concept, even though it feels justified now. You just by applying logical reasoning to historical spiritual facts, you can understand logically, you can prove to the mind that desire is a delusion. So secondly, the second klesha is pride. So pride is extremely bad, almost as bad as desire, and prevalent, extremely prevalent, especially in the West. One of the wonderful things about the East is they still very much, it's getting worse now, but they still very much practice humility in the East. Many Eastern Asian countries still practice humility. And that is a big loss for the West. In the West, there are very few people teaching their children humility. There are very few adults who even know the word humility. And pride and arrogance and showing off and displaying one's qualities, or even worse, pretending that one has qualities to others, is the name of the game in the West now. Everyone is doing it. And the worst for me, my personal opinion, this isn't Buddha's teaching, my personal opinion is that one of the worst types of showing off, funnily enough, is a psychological trait, which is showing off to oneself. It's not necessarily showing off to others. This is a very ridiculous thing, because obviously showing off to oneself means there's two people. That is obviously ridiculous. But how can you show off to yourself? But we all do it. And so by studying this, again, as Buddha said, by examining, by checking what the mind does internally, what happens externally, just check the whole situation. You can see the ridiculousness of our state of mind. There is no logical reasoning. There is no taming. There is no control. It's like a wild horse, free to do whatever it wants. And we have to try to bring some sensible control, some wisdom to the proceedings. Because if we allow our mind to just continue doing whatever it wants, following delusions, feeling that those delusions are justified, then the mind becomes more and more confused. And the outcome of leaving this world, the mind a confused, defiled, skewed, flawed mind leaving the body at the end, has ramifications. There are appearances, hallucinations, if you like, that will appear to the mind. The mind is in the habit of believing the appearances, and therefore the mind then reacts to those appearances, and obviously, consequentially, the whole process gets worse. The mind becomes fearful, and it's all an illusion. It's all just as it is now. It's all a mental story. It's all just a psychological narrative. It's all just subjective. But we don't see it like that. We see things as real. Things are truly existent. We believe in our own beliefs, and that kind of solid dogma is the problem. The irony of the religion is that the worldly people accuse the religious people of having too many beliefs, believing in everything, believing in this, believing in that. The truth is, the truly spiritually realized don't have any beliefs. They know that the whole thing is a mental illusion. It's the worldly people that have the beliefs. They believe in the self. They believe in every object being real from its own side. They believe in horror, terror, fear, war, poverty, destitution. Everything is a belief. Worldly people are full of beliefs. But the truly religious people who have realized that everything is merely imputed by the mind, they don't have any beliefs at all. That's why the Buddha called enlightenment liberation, because the mind is liberated from the dream. And another word is obviously Buddha. Buddha meaning awake. Buddha meaning awake means when one becomes a Buddha, or the mind becomes the Buddha, only the Buddha nature purely, the mind wakes up. Just like you wake up in the morning from a horrible, terrible dream, or even a wonderful, fantastic dream. And when you wake up in the morning, the dream has dissipated, completely gone, and you realize it was just a dream and nothing that happened in the dream was real. That is what Buddha means. Buddha means that you have realized the complete and absolute pure nature of the mind, and that pure nature of the mind was the thing that projected every life that was ever had on that mental continuum. Everything that appeared in that world, every object, every tree, every mountain, every sky, every planet was merely projected by the mind. Now, obviously, from where we are at the moment, believing everything that is real, the dualistic subject objectivity of existence, to go from that to fully realizing that everything is merely imputed by the mind is a long path, but it is the Buddhist path. And the reason the Buddha appeared in this world is to show that there is a result. The Buddha was the result. The Buddha showed us that at the end of the path, one can become fully enlightened by traversing that path from full belief to no belief, for realizing that everything is merely the nature of mind. And obviously that's an extremely profound, high realization. But we must know the destination, even from where we are now, or else we don't know which direction to go in. Whenever you meditate at home, always bear in mind the ultimate state, which is beyond all concept. That is the pure nature of mind, or certainly the path to it. The third obscuration, or klesha, defilement, is hatred. And obviously in the news at the moment, you can see what hatred is doing. And again, it's up there with desire and pride. Desire is the worst affliction. That causes the most suffering. Pride is horrific, and the showing off and the arrogance causes so much suffering. You must give it up for humility immediately. But the hatred is sneaky. Hatred, most people won't admit that they've got any hatred at all. But it only takes someone that you don't like to move in next door. It only takes someone to pull out in front of you in the road. It only takes someone to say something that you disagree with, some insult, someone to be offensive, someone to abuse someone else. It's so many reasons, and suddenly hatred is there in your mind, and your justification for it immediately comes there also. And these two working together stop you regretting the hatred. And regretting the hatred is a lovely thing, remorse. But if you allow the hatred to rise and then you justify it and then you just leave it without remorse, without regretting it, it forms an imprint on the mental continuum. And the longer that is left there without any remorse, without any regret, without any purification or cleansing, the more difficult it becomes to eventually, it's what we call ripen. It ripens. And what it ripens into is normally what we say is the effect is similar to the cause. So it will, people hating you, basically, people hating you is because you hated people. And no one wants to be hated, but then everyone is hating. So you can't expect to not be hated if you have been hating. So next time someone is horrible to you, please remember, really seriously remember, that someone is being horrible to you because you have been horrible to someone else. And that will put you off being horrible to someone else, hopefully. The whole of the Buddhist path, the main theme of Buddha's teaching is cause and effect. You must realize that everything that happens has got a cause. Nothing just happens out of the blue. Nothing. It's impossible. Everything is what we call dependent arising. Dependent arising is the technical name, but just remember cause and effect. And what Buddha is saying, the reason Buddha appears in a world is to just explain to everyone that you change the causes, the effects change. If you carry on just allowing random delusions to make causes, then you will get random effects. And you don't want random effects, because random effects cause an immense amount of confusion and suffering and problems. What we need is smooth, positive, lovely, peaceful, good conditions, good environment, good life, happy, peaceful, sound, balanced, harmonious society where everyone helps each other and everyone is lovely and friendly, and there's no back thought, there's no hidden agenda. The old American Indians used to say, white man speaks with forked tongue. And it means that they don't say what they mean. They say the nice thing, but behind it, they've got the sneaky thought, something different meaning. We must never do that. As a Buddhist, never ever do that. Must always have a single tongue. You say what you mean. My guru, Khenpo Thubten, once said to me, it's better to be angry and say the bad thing than it is to feel the anger and the bad thing, but you act you act all very nice on the surface. This is very bad, because at least if your actions are honest, in line with actually what the mind is doing, then at least that is one, there's something positive about that. But pretending, because at the end of this life, as I said, it's the mind which leaves the body, and the mind's condition is what the mind does. The mind is what it does. You pretending externally, verbally, through actions, differently to what the mind is doing, does not change the karma. It doesn't change the mind. It doesn't change, it makes it worse. Because on top of the negativity, you have now got falsehood. You've now got pretending. So you've doubled it. So anyway, so hatred must be completely eliminated. And how to eliminate hatred? A lovely practice, which is called loving kindness. Loving kindness just means pure love like a mother has for a child, unconditional love for all beings. Very difficult. Why is it very difficult? Because our conditioning from past lives, from this life, from yesterday, is suspicion, mistrust, distrust. We find it very difficult to trust strangers, and we find it very easy to be suspicious of others. As long as you've got that frame of mind, you will never be, you'll never have that, you'll never be able to cherish others, you'll never be able to have the empathy, the sympathy. You'll never be able to truly realize that they are suffering because of the environment, the karma, the delusions. They are suffering from the same thing. The reason the suffering that you go through, everyone else goes through as well. There's an equanimity in that. But the selfishness, which is the basic fundamental ignorance, that stops us from empathizing with others' suffering. We don't see a connection between our suffering and other people's suffering. If you look, there's a veil there, solid, opaque veil between what happens to you and what happens to others. That's absolutely wrong. In the Buddhist practice, according to the Buddhist philosophy, which is what this talk is about, we actually care more about other people's suffering than ourselves. I know that might sound ridiculous, but the reason for that is mathematical. The very simple, there's lots of reasons. There's a huge psychology of that philosophy, but the very simple way to remember why it's more important to care about and have concern for the sufferings of others than oneself is because there's only one of you and there's millions, billions, innumerable other beings. And so all of that suffering put together, that your suffering doesn't even show. It's infinitesimal. It's absolutely pointless. So please try to eliminate your hatred by thinking about how much all the beings are suffering, all the delusions that beings have got, all the conditioning, the mental conditioning, all the anger and the hatred and the fear and the pain and the loss. How can you judge them harshly? How can you hate them when they're going through all that suffering, when they're having to face all of that struggle every single day? You know what they're going through because you have to go through it yourself. So loving kindness can slowly, with this practice, it can turn into the most beautiful thing. The most beautiful thing is compassion, is very high. Don't ever consider that you've got it at the moment. Compassion is a magical, wonderful thing. The only thing higher than compassion is the bodhicitta, the wish for all beings to attain enlightenment. That's even higher. But as Buddha said, the mother of enlightenment is compassion. It means without the compassion, without the cherishing of all beings, one's mind can never be purified. One's mind can never reach the ultimate true omniscient state, because the ultimate true omniscient state is the fundamental basis of all beings. In fact, it's the fundamental basis of everything, not just beings, absolutely all phenomena. So to reach that omniscient state, one must cherish others as if they are their only child. Just that motherly love that a mother has for their only child, where she would gladly, without even question, just jump into the river if the child fell into the river. We have to try to have that feeling for all beings without exception. Doesn't matter what that being has done, whatever, even if it's a mass murderer. that being that is a mass murderer has carried out those horrific acts because of delusion. That delusion is a disease, a mental illness. We are now, because we have got the golden wisdom of the Buddha, we are now like doctors. The doctor doesn't punish, doesn't judge the patient. You now understand the power of delusion. How can you not have compassion for someone who is now facing who knows what in the future life because they've committed mass murders? If you have the wisdom, a mass murderer deserves your compassion more than anyone. So this is what we call Buddhist philosophy. It's very different to the normal way that worldly people see things. The fourth klesha is envy. So envy is jealousy, and again, very powerful, but not as powerful as the others, but very common. And many people in the West, again, is more prevalent in the West, but it's growing in the East. And the reason it's more prevalent in the West is because there's more goods. There's more things to be jealous of. There's more belongings, possessions, and money. And money and possessions, and they're all unnecessary. You know, at the end of the day, all we need is food and shelter. Very basic needs, actually, humans. And yet, you know, we are amassing food blenders and Dyson hair dryers, I don't know, all sorts of ridiculous devices, you know, and not only are they devices, but we have a range of quality, expensive, you know, makers' names and designers, and then one girl, for example, sees another girl with a famous French label, clothing or bag, and then jealousy. And what it does to the mind, this is the important thing from the Buddhist point of view, is what that jealousy does to the mind. If you actually sit down and contemplate, check, examine, as Buddha said, what actually happens in the mind with jealousy, envy, very strong imputation of the self. The self is generated, cultivated, strengthened, driven, augmented by jealousy. It's not fair. She's got that bag. Why I haven't got that bag? She doesn't deserve that bag. There's no reason why I shouldn't have that. It's not fair. And that drives, grows, cultivates the self. All of these delusions do that in their own way. So what is the antidote to envy? The antidote of envy is again, the loveliest, wonderful thing, the greatest state of mind thing. It's wonderful. It's rejoicing in that girl's Chanel bag. How wonderful it is that she's happy. She got the conditions, born into the conditions where she can have that bag. And I hope it brings her the greatest happiness. And that rejoicing, whenever you see anyone enjoying or being happy, you rejoice. It is said the Buddha said in the actual Dharma text that through rejoicing, you can accumulate the same merit as like rejoicing in good deeds. This is rejoicing in good deeds. So you see someone doing a good deed. This is very philosophical explanation, accurate, precise explanation of how karma works. It's a very strange thing. But when you see someone helping someone else, doing a good deed, and you rejoice in that good deed, you get the same merit as that person who is committing that wonderful, helpful deed. I mean, I know that sounds like a bit of a cheat, but that's how the mind works, because we are all one mind, we're all one being. So envy is the opposite of that. Envy is wishing that you had it and they didn't have it. Rejoicing is glad that they've got it. Rejoicing that whatever it is, whatever good thing, it can be a belonging, it can be a good act, it can be health, good health. It can be anything that makes people happy, you rejoice. Any cause of virtue, obviously the main thing that causes happiness is virtuous action. So obviously when you see someone, but jealous and envious people, when they see someone engaging in a virtuous act, then they don't rejoice. They're jealous. They're jealous of, look at a do-gooder. They're jealous of it. They mar it. They soil their own mind. They sully their own psychological continuum with an imprint, a black imprint, instead of a wonderful golden and white, glowing, rejoicing love for others. That is the choice that we're making all the time. The self, the ego, will try to make you make the wrong choice all the time. So the fifth one is ego. The fifth one is ignorance. The fifth one is the self, is a very profound. These other four are like four branches, and ignorance is the root. The root of all of these four, desire, pride, hatred and envy, the root cause is the ignorance, which enables the mind or causes the mind to impute a personal self. That imputation, that ignorance of not realizing that everything is equal, every being is actually not even, we talk about individual personalities, right? Equality doesn't mean that everyone is equally individually personality. A real Buddhist equality means everyone is just pure mind. So there's not even beings. We don't even think in terms of beings. We just think in terms of one mind, pure Buddha nature. If you see every being like that, then the ignorance is very quickly destroyed. But like I say, our mind is heavily conditioned, heavily contaminated by the idea of our personal life, our personal existence, self-preservation, survival, protectionism, exclusivity, separation, insular, isolated, look after oneself. You can pretend that you don't think like that until things go wrong, and then you watch it come. When you run out of money, when someone steals a huge amount of money out of your bank account or your car gets stolen, you see the self, personal preservation come up. Actually, when anything like that happens, if you truly realize the omniscient truth, the Buddha nature of all things, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't affect your mind in the slightest. I mean, conventionally, you can say, relatively speaking, you can say, oh yeah, you can use logical reasoning. You can say, oh yeah, that's karma because I did that. I stole that in the past. Then someone has stolen. That's not a bad technique. But far better is to realize emptiness. Emptiness means every single thing is merely imputed by the mind, especially you. The main thing you're realizing the emptiness of is you, the self. There's no self. You go through the senses, you go through the body, you go through the mind, all the consciousnesses. You can't find a personal identity. When you realize that, when the mind realizes that nothing can be identified, as Tilopa said, all the Dharma can be summed up in one word, identitylessness. Nothing has got an identity. When nothing has got an identity, it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. The mind is liberated. You will be free, no longer held down and oppressed by the tyranny of personal ownership. The end. He's fallen asleep. Wasn't that bad, was it? What do you think?
You've said it all.
Any questions, Nicola?
I think we've touched on it before, but not in that way, I think. Just thinking of some of the talks you did last year. Cloches, is that one?
I think I need to say something about how to apply this in daily practice. don't have desire, don't have pride, don't have hatred, don't have envy. If you don't want to have desire, detachment, renunciation. Just stop wanting the things that you want. And guess what? Happiness. A genuine happiness, a genuine freedom suddenly appears in the mind magically. It's a wonderful thing. But our habit is desire. Our habit is craving. Our habit is wanting all the time. It's like giving up heroin at first. But don't give up. Don't be disappointed that you can't give it up straight away. Just each day, just think, that wanting, I can feel it, it's making me unhappy. Just notice it and just go for the freedom. Go for freedom, give up the craving. The second one, pride. You'll notice when you're doing it, you're talking to someone at work and you're adding little special effects that make you sound good. Stop it. Just stop it. Or carry on and afterwards think, right, I'm not going to do that anymore. Whatever. Just gradually give it up. Take the, how can I put it? Take the pride out of the tone in your voice. You know when you are adding something extra to the proceedings. We all do it. We all do it. Don't do that. Just when you speak, speech is a big thing with pride. When you speak, just speak in a standard way. Just utilize speech to get the meaning honestly and truthfully. I know it sounds boring. It's going to seem quite boring at first, but the freedom it brings. Ego in your actions, ego in your speech makes life more exciting in the short term, but it causes long-term unhappiness. So try when you deal with people, when you speak to people. Here's an example. You'll be in a conversation with someone and they are showing off, and you know they're showing off, and you will feel obliged to show off also. But it happens a lot. People show off to each other out of friendliness. It's mad. It's like, oh, they've shown off. I'm not going to feel comfortable if I don't show off as well. I'll look like I'm judging them if I don't. You can't do that. Buddhist philosophers that you cannot enter into showing off just to try to fit in anymore. You must be honest and humble, very humble. Stick with humility, and some real lovely freedom, happiness comes. A new kind of joy comes that you never knew existed, that comes through from humility. That is why in the East they all practice humility. It's very, very effective. And actually this tradition, the Sakya, is famous for humility practice. So anyway, and then hatred, obviously love, try to love. When you're dealing with people at work during your daily life, try to have at least understanding, empathy, no matter how annoying they are normally. Try to change now and actually try to be more understanding and accepting with the person who is the most annoying. You know, most people have got someone who is abrasive, and that's a very good opportunity. You don't actually have to go up to them or change anything. It's just internally. All Dharma practice is internally in the mind. That's a very important point, is that this is a psychological practice, and what we're doing is we're changing the way we think. We're going from poor quality thinking to excellent quality, really good quality thinking. That is the name of the game. And in the end, a future life and ascension to the absolute purity of enlightenment, etc. It all depends on what we do now with our actions. Very, very important to have good quality actions. Don't allow negativity, these 5 kleshas to, certainly the first 4. Like I say, the 5th one, ignorance, is difficult because it's really fundamental in being. The first 4, we can definitely deplete the suffering of our experience by 75%, I would say, by destroying the first four. Very, very helpful. But of course you have to remember to do it. And our habit is so ingrained. But if you can do this practice, it's really, you'll notice in no time, you'll notice a big difference. Anyway, helpful? Hopefully. Thank you very much. Is it time?
We're doing all right. I'm enjoying it. I think you're talking a bit more in depth about Buddhism, you know?
Yeah.
The point is, it's...
Is it good? 8 o'clock?
10 to 10 minutes.
All right. Oh dear.
9 minutes.
Any
left.
questions?
Yes, you're right. It is nice to go in depth with it. You're right, Paul.
I noticed you use the analysis of the practices and the philosophy. What was the third one?
Science.
All the science, yes.
Buddhist science,
I
yeah.
haven't seen those used before, but it's quite interesting.
Buddhist science is logic, grammar. Arts and crafts is an interesting one because it sounds like strange, but arts and crafts in Buddhist science includes astrology and of course medicine, Tibetan medicine especially, but all the types of medicine, old Indian medicine comes under Buddhist science. So yeah, very vast subject, Buddhist science, very interesting.
What you said, I mean, I always think one of the first steps is the noticing. So
Yes.
rather than like desperately trying to change it.
Yes.
It's definitely been something that's been helpful in my life and has been really helpful since obviously we've all been talking and hanging out. And
Mindfulness.
yes,
mental awareness, lovely.
When you do it, when you suddenly cringe that you can hear
Yes.
pride in your voice, or what were you saying, the showing off, or
Yes.
I don't know, even just like a negative thought about something, and then
Yes.
that switching it. But the noticing definitely helps because,
One thing I would like to say to everyone here, right, is how important a sense of humour is. All right, that is the one thing that many people get wrong with religious practice. All right, sense of humour is so important. You must have a joyful mind. It doesn't need to have, like worldly people normally need something to cause them to be happy, cause them to giggle, cause them to laugh, cause them to be joyful. You don't need anything. It doesn't need to have a support. You can just have a joyful outlook, a generosity of spirit. You can get into, if you can get your mind into that habit of being free and easy, gentle and joyful, just try to, I know it sounds cliche, but always try to keep a upbeat, positive, joyful, almost flippant state of mind. It's a strange thing to say, but it's very important because it's what we call light-hearted. It's all in the language. When we talk about having a laugh, having fun, we call it light-hearted. And light-hearted is the opposite of heavy-hearted. And light-hearted is absolutely what you need if you want to be mindful and have awareness. The light-heartedness gives you the energy, gives you the concentration, gives you the space to be able to observe what is going on. If you're heavy-hearted, if you're a bit sullen, if you're a bit melancholy, it's difficult. I'm not talking about getting excited. I'm not talking about actually laughing and all the rest of it, but it's just a light-hearted, not so serious outlook. It needs to be, like I say, it feels like a little bit like flippant, like letting it all go. With that feeling, that basic feeling in the mind, it's much easier to be aware of what the mind is doing. Lightheartedness is a great help. So try to be, you don't have to go around being the village comedian, but it's very, very helpful for spiritual practice and progression to be a bit of frivolity. Very helpful. People are too serious with religious practice. It causes problems, causes an obstruction. So happiness is very important. But you don't need anything to make it. That's another delusion that normal people have. They think that happiness has to have a cause, but it doesn't. Actually, the first bhumi, which is the first level of realizing emptiness, the actual nature of all phenomena, is called perfect joy. So it just goes to show you that our natural state is a happy, joyful state. Because that's not produced, that's not fabricated, the first bhumi. That is a revelation. That emerges when you get rid of all the problems, all the conception, all the delusions. That's not something that you're attaining or making or fabricating. That's a natural state that is there in us right now. It's just that it's obscured by our nonsense. You get it? So, anyway.
I think joy is a better word than happiness.
You're right.
Yeah, finding joy in tiny little things every sort of moment of the day is what eventually would bring happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Kathy.
Kathy, you don't need anything to make you joyful or happy. You can just do it on your own, honestly.
Well, yes, but we waste too much time on negativity.
Yes.
You see a flower and you do your mindfulness, you enjoy
Yes.
just for that, not clinging to it.
Yes.
That is joy.
Yeah.
And that then concentrates your mind
Yes.
on positivity.
Yes.
And if you're positive, hatred and jealousy and
Yes.
everything else disappears.
Yes. It's a very technical way of practicing, but it's good. It works. But it's a bit. If you can just generate joyful love all the time, it works. But of course, what you're saying is correct, technically correct. If you can just practice real love, that is the one. That brings the joy immediately. It's a lovely thing. That is what is missing from many spiritual practices these days, is the real love for all beings, for everything. It's not even for anything. It's just heart love. It's just warmth. Khenpo Lekse just calls it heart warmth. And it's just, you just have to have a warm, loving heart. And people haven't got it these days. It's a big thing that's missing from society. You can rarely find it. And everyone needs to have it. It's very important. It changes everything. So hopefully we can cause that in this world, people to have that. Imagine if everyone had that. It'd be awesome. I think in the old days there was a lot more of it about. But anyway, now it's materialism has ruined it, really. People are very attached to things, and the love has gone out the window. The general, omniscient, universal love has gone out of the window, hasn't it? That's the problem. But anyway, we can get it back, hopefully. I'm optimistic. Let's meditate at home and try to generate the universal love for all beings. I know it sounds a bit like a hippie thing, but it's very, very effective for purifying all our harmful past deeds, which is really what we need to do. That's what we call merit. So anyway, good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.